Hello, everyone, and welcome to another tournament review here at PMTT. Tonight, I am reviewing the most recent round of the Gauntlet, and I am joined by Nathan. Nathan, how are you going tonight?
Yeah, good mate. And yourself? You doing well?
Yeah, really good, really good. So Nathan, I'll spoil the ending a bit for people. Nathan won the most recent Gauntlet, so congratulations. It was a very close event. There was 18 players, and he played exceptionally well to take it out. So I've got him on tonight to talk about winning all his games, going undefeated. But in addition to that, he also managed to get a ridiculous amount of sports votes, coming in very close to the top, almost winning it, almost taking it out. Unfortunately, there are some absolute gentlemen in the scene, and so he got pipped at the mark. But being able to beat all your opponents and give them fantastic games is an achievement that not many of us can do. So I wanted to get him on to talk about it. But first, and so you don't have to keep listening to me, I'm going to flick over to him to give us a bit of his backstory and kind of how he got into the hobby and what he's been doing in it.
Okay, sweet. So yeah, basically, I started the hobby. Well, I got back into the hobby about 6 years ago. I did try 40K for a bit, shocker, as everyone else does. Um, and then wasn't having too much fun on that side of things, and managed to find a nice slow grow in the community, going through a group called 2D3 at the time. Um, Managed to find a bunch of mates through that and have been playing the game since. Uh, Took it pretty casually at the start, just playing with my flesh eater courts and my fire slayers and everything like that. And then it came to a point where I was like, maybe I should try some tournaments. And yeah, the last few years have been playing tournaments, rolling dice, and meeting a lot of people and having lots of fun.
Fantastic. So what drew you to AOS over 40k?
I think it was more the community side of things. So getting into 40K, I got back into 40K when it was the era of soups and all that nasty stuff. And yeah, not having a friendly time, and then getting into the 2D3 slow grow really had a good community aspect, and everyone was friendly, and I sort of, got to learn the game and have a lot of fun, which is what I was trying to do with the whole sort of hobby side of things, was have an enjoyable time.
Yeah, no, very nice. And so you said that you started with your Feck and your Fire Slayers.
Yeah.
Um, is there a reason that you haven't been playing them recently? Have you just been looking for something else, or are you kind of has there been like additional outside decisions made to push you away from them?
Yeah, so Fire Slayers I've put down for a while. They're too much of a big brain army for me, and too much thought. With all the stuff I do for work and everything like that, I think I wanted something a little bit simpler to pilot. So I did, at the start of the edition, try Feck, because Feck is my OG army. And if I can win armies or win games and like do well with them, then I will, and I'll give it that shot. But I think this GHB is not quite the right time for Feck at the moment, mainly just around like trying to get noble deeds and stuff like that, and also me not wanting to spend hundreds of dollars on Morbeg Knights as well.
That is fair. They are absolutely fantastic units at the moment. But yeah, that's completely fair. You don't want to jump on the, just the latest and greatest hotness, and then
Yeah.
have the rules update and lose it. So what did you take to the most recent gauntlet?
So I've taken Heathen Knights of Slanesh. So I basically got into them after a sort of like league sort of style game, and I've been trying to improve on the list as I've been playing over the last few months with them. I started off running, very seeker heavy style things, and had a lot of games, and managed to put together something that has resembled basically a three hammer list.
Yep.
So essentially, you got the main crux that everyone has is the big block of sick blade, so the big unit of 10 that can get from one side of the board and do a whole buttload of damage. And then you've got the keeper who can get buffed now with taking like the artifacts and traits on him that makes him a bit of a power piece, and actually quite tanky as well as a result of that. And then sort of Glutos to sort of come in at the end and sort of get you from that round 3 to round 5 sort of thing with it. So I had that, and then I just sort of trim it out with a couple of Twin Souls units just to give me some board presence and a bit of survivability. A unit of Seekers just for basically anti cavalry, because there's a lot of cavalry out there at the moment. Um, Another good one is Blissbarb Seekers. Everyone seems to think Blissbarb Archers are great, but I am on the bandwagon for Blissbarb Seekers. 160 points, 20 wounds.
Mm.
They're 10 points more than Blissbarb Archers, and they do similar damage. So I'd rather take them with their sort of ability to control the board and everything like that. And then I sort of top it out with a mask just to put a bit of power play into your opponent and sort of trick them up or force their hand into an unfavorable situation at the start of the game, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, very cool, very cool. I'm really keen to see kind of how players develop now that everyone's kind of understanding the rules of fourth and it's all more established.
Yeah,
Definitely keen to see how lists like yours are developing outside of kind of the standard norm or like the power lists.
yeah,
With people now being able to play around more and kind of knowing what other armies are doing, you can now kind of tech into the skew lists that
yeah.
have been really dominating the scene early. So no, fantastic, and really cool to see you moving away from just like 88 Bliss Bar Archers because no one enjoyed that game.
I wouldn't enjoy painting that many, to be honest.
So getting into the tournament itself, your first matchup was against Bill with his KO on shifting
Yeah,
priorities. Walk us through that game. How did it go?
yeah. So I grudged Bill round one. Just to sort of I want to so part of these sort of PMTT events is it's a really good opportunity with a lot of the good players to stress test lists. So going up against KO, it's a good skew list to try your
Mm,
list against. There's a lot of like shooting power, a lot of output, that sort of stuff. So he had basically a big boat, a medium boat, big block of thunderers, Brock just for a bit of fun, and some sort of engine riggers on the side as well. Um, I have the lower drops, so I sort of dropped first and sort of determined the part of the board. Part of the thing he did was he actually left the boat with the engine riggers and Brock up in the sky. Um, Being the sort of player I am, I like to deny a lot of board presence. So having seekers and everything like that, I was able to pretty much block out 75% of the board and sort of pin him into his location with his big ironclad and the big lot of engine riggers. Had the mask sitting on one side and had the keeper over here ready to charge in. I kept the sick blades back a little bit. Um, Went to roll all the dice. I failed every single charge.
oh,
So that was unfortunate. Then he sort of came in the next turn and he got me killed off the mask, but didn't do quite enough damage to the keeper. And keeper and sick blades came in the next turn and sort of wiped the game up at that point.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's it. Kind of, especially like you're saying, the kind of screening people out entirely, forcing engagements, which is
yeah,
exactly what KO doesn't want. They want to be able to
yeah,
hop around. They want to be able to shoot you at max range. Where if you're forcing to saying you're dropping 9 inches away, so that next turn I'm in your face, there's nothing you can do about it. Is
yeah,
not where KO wants to be. And you got a pretty big win in
yes,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Definitely kind of. Did you expect to be able to pin them down as effectively as you did, or were you more worried that Bill was going to be able to exploit any gaps in your lines?
I was a bit worried at the start, like being KO, having that output. Like the main thing with like Slanesh is they're pretty squishy when it comes to stuff like this. So having missed the first opportunity to sort of pin him in the first turn, I thought it was going to go his favor, but his round of shooting didn't go so well. And the keeper sort of like was like alive and did a bit of healing as well when he took that damage. So yeah, really surviving that first round of shooting did actually help me a lot in the game and sort of tipped the scales in my favor when that happened.
Yeah, yeah, no, very nice, very nice. So going into game two, you came up against Scott Moss with
Yeah.
his Fire Slayers. What was he running, and how did that game play out?
So he's basically running Upsul Magma Drops and a bit of trimmings with a couple of dragons on the side. So there's a lot of damage, a lot of wounds to sort of get through. Um, but being the sort of scenario we're playing with the six objectives, the six objectives going this way,
Yep.
sort of thing. Um, it was more trying to bait him into certain situations. So my sort of play style, in a sense, is to give you two options. Both options favor me. I don't care what option you take in either end. And if you take one that's more favorable to me, then I like to sort of capitalize on that sort of thing. So there was an early sort of turn. I took the first turn. I basically ran a unit of sick blade straight into one of his like two dragons that were basically there for take the flanks. I wiped this one out and then forced two of his magma drops to go into the back corner, which then allowed me to sort of control the rest of the board and sort of like
Mm.
knife it and sort of take out those sort of key crux units and whittle it down before he had any chance to sort of come back on it.
Yeah. So really, very much kind of almost the opposite of the KO, rather than pinning him down early.
Yeah,
Very much forcing him to come to you with your speed, and really just setting the tempo of the game and kind of dictating it.
yeah, yeah, and sort of having that movement that Slanesh has in this list with like with the seekers being able to like get from one side of the board to the other or do a bit of chip damage here or there or get the keeper in to just take out a key unit. It sort of really adds a lot of damage in a sense, but also splits the decision of opponents because they're having to look at, do I take out the sick blades over here or do I, take out the keeper over here sort of thing. And
Mm.
they've really got to think about it. But you're already thinking in the background, hey, I've got something already ready to sort of counter that or come
Mm.
in and sort of assist that other unit if need be.
Yeah, like you described it before, you don't mind which option they take.
Yeah,
You're just hoping they take the one that's better for you, but you're
correct. Yeah,
fine with any kind of option. You're kind of really trying to control that momentum of the game.
yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. So controlling the momentum is really important in most games, especially against your final round opponent being Dave with his Nurgle, because if Nurgle gets on a roll, then they become unstoppable. Uh,
yeah.
Talk me through that game.
He's Dave's a good friend of mine, so we seem to only get put into each other at tournaments. We actually never get to play outside of tournaments because we're both nice guys and always want to play all the other people sitting around before
Yep.
we decide to play each other. So um, playing him probably for the second time in like 5 years is always good fun. So he was actually running the sort of two Guos and a Rodigus sort of list and
Mm.
a bunch of plague bearers. So it's a whole bunch of meat and a whole bunch of chunk that you need to slice through. And Slanesh just has a lot of damage output, and this particular list I'm running has that damage. So I sort of took out key pieces early, like running a unit of sick blades at one of the Guos and missing him by one wound, unfortunately, um, which I lost a couple of sick blades out of that. And then using the keeper to sort of take out some of those plague bearers, which are those little bodies that sit on the objectives as well. So um, by sort of round two, I was able to take out two Guos and then sort of control most of the board at that point. And then basically leave him to sort of just get the 1 points here and there because I was screening him out for a lot of the rest of the board and that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, no, very nice. So really, once again, kind of controlling that tempo, making
Yeah.
him play your game versus letting him kind of do what he wants.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And it's very much, I think my play style is that side of things is, tempo control and really trying to like knife edge sort of stuff and take out key pieces sort of thing. So looking at what's a sort of target that's a priority to kill and, making sure that you've got enough sort of calculation in if that unit's going to survive out of it or if you need to put multiple your sort of units into it and keep it alive sort of thing. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, very cool, very cool. So, undefeated, fantastic
yeah,
result. Coming in first after tiebreakers, another fantastic result. But the last part of it is you got, out of a possible six sports votes, you got four.
yeah.
So either two people had the greatest game they've ever had against you, or one person had the greatest game they've ever had against you, and the other two guys both had a really good time as well. Which is a huge achievement normally, but going undefeated as well just elevates that up to the next level. So one of the reasons that I wanted to get you on was not only to discuss kind of how you played and some of the decision making that went into your list and your games, um, but how you keep your opponents engaged and still enjoying the game when you're tabling them.
Yeah. I think I sort of take a bit of a page out of one of my mate Tommy, who's one of the New Zealand-based residents now. Good guy, just like likes to keep everyone engaged, sort of thing. So I sort of probably in the last year tried to clean up my game a bit. I've been, playing a bit cleaner, making it very clear to my opponents, and then even to the point where if the game's sort of winning your way, I'm not going to be trying to get these extra points here and there for the VP differential. I like to sort of, if my opponent's like, oh man, I'm not sure what sort of tactic I can do at the moment. If it's at that point where we know it's going to swing, we can say, oh, well, you could do this and then just give the points out of it, sort of thing, just to sort of, you know, work through it together. And then they potentially could see it as an option for them in future games as well, where they might not have seen it previously. So I sort of like to have that sort of discussion and have a chat afterwards, and yeah, just talk about anything or other lists or things they're working on in that. I do sort of feel a bit bad sometimes playing some opponents, and you have like a really strong list and they don't. In particular, there was one at Runac, so I played a game like we were sort of pushed towards the bottom of it. I got put into an opponent who's a pretty casual opponent, and I put a strong list in, and yeah, it did not feel good playing that army into that opponent, unfortunately, and I felt quite bad at the end of it for that one.
Yeah, no, but that is always something that you need to take into account.
Yeah,
Not only your own army construction and skill level, but also like why you're going to a tournament.
yeah,
Like if you're going there to do well, you're going to bring a strong list. You're going to know your rules quite well. You're going to be playing with the mindset of trying to win games, um, and you might be taking it more seriously than your opponent, who's just there for a casual. They just want to get 5 games in a weekend, or
yeah,
hang out with some mates. Um, and it's very much a balancing act, to figure out kind of not how seriously you can take the game, but kind of how intense you're both happy to have the game.
yeah,
I've definitely been on the wrong side, of that. With my opponents were just there for an entirely different reason to what I was there for, and as a result, we didn't have the most fun game. Irrespective of the actual game result, it was just a case of we were there for different reasons, and so we just didn't gel, which is perfectly fine. I'm not saying that everyone needs to match my level of intensity on the tabletop, because that would be a fool's errand. Um, but making sure you're aware of your opponent and
yeah.
kind of how seriously they want to take it. And I find that, a lot of that can be resolved with like that discussion that I really promote at the start of the game. Do you find that kind of the your opponent's kind of intentions develop kind of organically through the game, or do you kind of have that discussion and ask them at the start?
Uh, I mean, rules based, I generally try to look at the start, and sometimes you look at lists as well. Um, Lists can usually tell you if an opponent's going to be trying to win games or not. If you get opponents there that just have like, like something all fun, or they're talking about the law, or they've got this really sick painting and stuff like that, you can sort of gel it, like work out that they're, not sort of going down that sort of competitive path. But yeah, most of the time, a lot of the games I play into, they're quite competitive, and you can sort of just get that just from the vibes and where you're sort of placing in the ladders and stuff like that as well. Um, Very different to casual games as well. Like, so when we play up on Wargamers Hub on Monday nights, depending on the person I'm versing, can sometimes be the list I play. If it's a newer person, I'll take a few things out of the list and maybe make it a lot less optimal, so it's a bit more friendly to the person coming in. But if I'm playing the likes of like Jaden or Aaron or Bill, even Brad too, like those sort of guys, like I'm not going to be holding any punches back on even on a casual game as well, because it sort of makes us better players out of it, sort of thing.
And against any of those guys, you can't afford to either. If you
No,
give any of them a free hit, you're going down, and you're going down hella fast.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, and that's a great kind of thing that you mentioned there, with kind of tailoring your list to your opponent, in casual play. Like I know you can't do that in a tournament, and
yeah,
you probably don't want to do that in a
yeah,
tournament, like deliberately softening up your list if you're playing someone that is there for a more casual experience. But it's definitely worthwhile to keep that in mind for anyone listening, for when people are trying to get into the hobby. I know when I teach people how to play, I always try and rig the game, so that they win.
yeah,
And if you're a good enough player, you should be able to rig the game without them realizing it as well. by just making those suboptimal moves, for accidentally forgetting about buff ranges and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with kind of how large the community up there at Wargamers Hub is getting, you guys are all doing that very well.
Yeah, yeah, and we've also started getting a few more competitive players coming up there now, so almost seems like a bit of a mecca for some of the competitive players. You got Scott coming up there now, Tim's coming in every now and again. You've got a few other guys, even Luke, who actually lives on the Gold Coast, drives all the way up to Wargamers Hub just to get some games against the guys, just because it's got a lot of strong players up there.
Yeah, and that is what you want from kind of the scene, and that's what hopefully I can claim some hand in that with the Gauntlet series, with the
Yeah,
intention to try and get people traveling to the other communities and getting people playing against people that they're not always playing against. So I'll try and claim some of that, but I know that you guys up there have been doing a lot of really good work to grow that community. So
yeah, and even doing like when we do events for traveling and stuff like that, you go down for Gold Con or even go up to Toowoomba for Contest of Fools and that as well. Like try to get everyone together and sort of, band together as a group. You don't have to be all under the same team name or the same like
mm,
club or anything like that. Like usually just there as a bunch of friends. So even for CanCon now, got a bunch of guys who we play with regularly. We're looking to get stuff together for that and sort of stay together while we're doing CanCon as well. So even if we're not all playing AOS too.
yeah, and that's what makes a lot of those those big trips 100% worth it.
Yeah,
Just the friendships and kind of the shenanigans that happen when you're all going away for a bit of a weekend or a long weekend in CanCon's case.
yeah,
But yeah, I've got great memories of traveling even overseas with people, and kind of the friendships there are awesome. But um, to kind of we can kind of talk about other events for forever. So getting a little bit back on topic,
yeah.
is there any other ideas or things that you try and do to really try and promote just a nice fun game that has both people still engaged, or is it really just learning what your opponent's trying to get out and kind of working with them to make the game more engaging?
Yeah, I think it's more just working out where your opponent sort of sits. Um, as I said, like most of the time I'm playing some pretty competitive games. So it makes it, it's always sort of all things go sort of thing. And don't hold back sort of thing. But even if you're like I'm playing competitive games against friends and stuff, we'll generally have chats to each other afterwards about like things could have done differently and stuff like that to sort of hone the game. But from a more casual perspective, you just try to have chats in between and maybe draw the game out if you're playing a casual game instead of the 3 hour limit you'd have at a normal tournament. You drag it out to maybe 5 or 6 hours in between.
Yeah, yeah, and you can definitely easily do that. Yeah, played plenty of long games where we're just hanging out and having a good time,
Yeah,
versus trying to keep on schedule at a tournament. So,
yeah.
speaking of tournaments, what's and one of the next ones that you're planning on going to?
So we've got a War Duck Invitational coming up. So it's just a little one day up at Wargamers Hub for all those who are part of the sort of league that Brad put on. So it should be just a little fun game. That's next weekend at this point. So it'll be not like the 23rd or 24th, somewhere around there. So I probably will see if I can change a little bit in the list. See, try some new things out. See if there's anything else that might work.
Yeah, no, very nice, very nice. I have, in terms of tournaments, the next two that I've got are the finals for the
Yeah,
Gauntlet. I have 8 people invited to that coming up to Toowoomba. It's going to be a very, very intense day. There's some excellent players. They're all going to be bringing tough as nails lists. So I'm really looking forward to it. And then the next big one that I've got, unfortunately, I'm not really going to be attending many because I've got a whole bunch of other stuff happening on in my life. So it will be FoolCon. So that will be the first weekend in April. I'm still looking to find a TO to run the AOS portion of the event, because I am going to be running it as the convention organizer. We're going to have several events there, hoping to get some vendors on board, and we've got a few other surprises that I'm planning and hoping to be able to pull off. So if you're interested in running it or running any kind of event at FoolCon, please reach out to me. Or otherwise, make sure you book off the 5th and 6th of April. It will be probably Toowoomba's biggest AOS event, and we're going to try and make it one of the larger ones in Queensland as well. But that is kind of all we have time for. I know Nathan has a very busy life, as well as myself. We both have plenty of other stuff on. So we're going to have to call it there. Before we go, Nathan, is there anyone you would like to shout out before we finish up?
Yeah, I'd like to just shout out, obviously, I've got a small group of friends and stuff through the hobby grots that we have in our little group of mates. Also shouting out the War Duck group as well that Brad's put together for growing that community up there as well. So both of those are a great group of communities. And if any of you guys want to come up and just play some casual games anytime soon, just come up to War Gamers Hub on Monday night. We're pretty friendly up there. We don't bite, even though we've got a few competitive players, but yeah, if you just want some casual games, we're always there for that.
Very nice. But as you proved at the most recent tournament, even though you do bite, you're still going to give them a great time whilst you do it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it.
Thank you everyone for watching. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe or leave a comment. It really helps the channel out. Otherwise, we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Cool. Bye.